Hello, YouTube. My name is Alan, and it's that time. Once again, let's talk metal. Tonight, we're going to be talking about not just one, but two classic new wave of British heavy metal full-length albums. I haven't shown a ton of new wave of British heavy metal lately. There's a lot of great heavy metal out there. Gotta kind of rotate through things, cover different genres, styles, and eras of heavy metal music. But yeah, we're coming back with some new wave of British heavy metal this evening. And yeah, delving into some full-length albums. A lot of folks have commented that my videos often feature, 7-inch material, singles and stuff. And that's because a lot of bands back in that era only released singles. That's where a lot of the really good hidden tracks are at from bands that never really got the opportunity to make a full-length album. Nevertheless, there were some really great full-lengths put out back in the day. And this, is sometimes a point of contention. Other folks will sometimes mention that the new wave of British heavy metal album roster is maybe a little thin. Aaron over at Metal Theologian sometimes half-jokingly says that a lot of the albums, there's not that many great ones from the era. And while I'm always kind of quick to try to jump in and, correct him, like, no, there's plenty, I do have to stop and pause and think, well, are there that many? Because a lot of the full-length new wave of British heavy metal albums, they do leave a bit to be desired. Some of the bands either weren't quite ready, didn't have enough really A-list material to make that album, and they had to fill it out with a few leftover tracks. So no, Aaron does, have a legit point that when you start looking at the full spectrum of albums, yeah, there are great ones, but there are a lot of not so great ones either. Not that they're awful, just that these were young bands trying to find their footing. It was a new style of heavy metal that folks weren't used to producing or recording yet. And as such, sometimes there is a little bit of a lack of quality. But I've dug up two tonight that I want to talk about that I've always thought were pretty good. And so we'll dive into them for a while. Our first contestant for the evening is this one. It is the 1981 album by the band SARACEN, entitled Heroes, Saints, and Fools. This one came out on their own little imprint called Nucleus Records, and it showed the band operating in kind of a weird territory. It's definitely heavy metal, but it's got definite sort of prog leanings to it here and there. And it does feel like it still has, at least one foot in the 70s hard rock styles. So it's not an overly aggressive album whatsoever. But what the band lacks in terms of aggression, they make up for with really nice songwriting and, really splicing together songs with different parts and putting them together really, really nicely. I want to play not just the usual one clip from things tonight, but we'll do a couple of examples and try this format out. I haven't really done this in a video before. So let's start with a little bit of the title track. Now, I may be playing snippets from the middle of the song or skipping like a minute into it if it's got a long intro. But I wanted to give a couple of examples of what SARACEN was really good at. They're really good at these longer songs that do some storytelling, like the title track. So here is a taste of the title track, Heroes, Saints, and Fools, from SARACEN's 1981 debut LP.
Standing at the gates of forever, how could I choose the way? What are the rules? Here the roads of life come together. The roads of heroes, saints, and fools, staring in the face of dilemma. My shadow whispers turn for home, but here I go, stepping through the door to forever. I never thought my fear would show.
All right, so there's a bit of SARACEN. And so, yeah, again, they're not going to outduel Iron Maiden Killers or anything like that. a little more of, again, laid back sound. You've got some, synths in there added for, little progressive touches here and there, but really good vocal performance. I like their singer quite a bit. And they just do a really good job of putting these songs together. And again, several of these songs are relatively long. Let's check the track lists over here. You've got Crusader runs over 6 minutes. You've got Horsemen of the Apocalypse over 6 minutes. You've got the title track runs about 7.5 minutes. The album Closer, Ready to Fly, over 8 minutes. And these are the tracks they're best at. These are the ones where they give the song time to breathe. They can take it through some slightly up-tempo, get a little bit of a new wave of British heavy metal gallop going, not too much. They kind of keep it reined in a bit. But yeah, the songs are able to kind of move back and forth between some acoustic parts, some synthy parts, and just, some, heavier parts with, some heavier riffage here and there too. So really good stuff. Let's check out another example. And let's see, for this one, we've got booted up a section from the middle of the track, Horsemen of the Apocalypse. All right, there's a little bit of Horsemen of the Apocalypse. So, the segment of that song shows that, yeah, they could pick up the tempo and do pretty well at it when they wanted to, even though they still have those little squishy, synth noises in the background here and there on that clip as well. Overall, I think it's a very cool album. It's the one that doesn't get mentioned a whole bunch, but I think the performances and the songwriting, are definitely noteworthy and make it worth checking out. There is one song on the album that I do have to call out a little bit, though. There's an instrumental. It's next to last track on the B-side, and it has the unfortunate title of Dolphin Ride. And if there's one thing that's not heavy metal, it's dolphins. That's where Stratovarius went wrong. Too many fucking dolphins on their album covers. And, you might think, okay, it's just some guitar noodling or something like that. No, it's really not. Because when they called the song Dolphin Ride, they went all in on the dolphin part. Let's check out a clip of this just for fun. This is a little bit of SARACEN's instrumental Dolphin Ride. Okay, please don't unsubscribe, but yeah, complete with the sort of sea spray sound effects and the weird little dolphin whistling sound effects. Yeah, they went for that. I can make fun of it, but it just always struck me as like a very, very goofy kind of thing to have on the album, but no real harm done. But yeah, I gotta poke at it, tease it just a little bit there. So whatever happened to SARACEN? One thing I should have mentioned earlier, this is not the same band that appeared on the Roxsnax compilation alongside bands like Hollow Ground. There was another SARACEN outfit operating during the new wave of British heavy metal that contributed songs to that compilation of Guardian label bands. This is not that same lineup whatsoever. They just happened to come up with the same name for the band. This particular SARACEN wasn't done after this album. They did get picked up and released a single and another full-length album, and I believe that one is on not Noise Records, Neat Records. Yeah. So in 1984, they did an album for Neat called Change of Heart. I don't have a copy of that one to show, but I am going to play a clip from it. This showed the band moving much more into sort of a pomp-AOR commercial sound. They leave the prog stuff behind and kind of going for a little bit more of an arena feel. If you're not sure what that's going to sound like, well, let's go to the tape and check out the intro to the song Love on Sight. And this is from SARACEN's 1984 album, 3 years after Heroes, Saints, and Full. Here we go, Love on Sight. So yeah, when I say they went for it hardcore 80s pump style, I mean, they went for it hardcore. Wow. As dippy as that sounds, it is a bit of an earworm. It's catchy. It'll get stuck in your head if you're not careful. You don't want to play that too many times. Yeah, SARACEN definitely kind of changed things up in those 3 years between albums and tried for something else. I guess I figured if it would work for Journey, maybe it would work for them. Don't think it worked out as well for them. SARACEN does appear on a few compilation albums from the period. Unfortunately, it's usually tracks from that second era that you end up hearing. Love on Sight is on some compilations. There's a track called We Have Arrived, which the keyboards go to 11 on that one too. And that shows up on some of the other compilations as well. And again, it's not terrible material, but they have definitely left the new wave of British heavy metal ethos behind at that point and are operating in a very different territory. It's kind of a fun territory as long as you're not wanting it to be anything at all like, new wave of British heavy metal or hard rock or even rock. Yeah, if you've got your sunglasses and can find your lighter, I couldn't find mine, just want it to be 1982 all over again, there you go, SARACEN. So that was about it for SARACEN until much later. They did put out some albums in the early 2000s. I have never checked those out. I have nothing to offer about those albums because I'm not familiar with them. Heroes, Saints, and Fools is definitely the one you would want to go back and check out if you're a fan of the new wave of British heavy metal. It has been reissued on CD a few times over the years. I have one CD reissue of it here. This is a 92 reissue on TRC Records. And I'm showing this because it's a real cheap repress of it. I would not recommend getting this, even though it says 7 bonus tracks. You don't have a booklet, you have a one-sided insert card. What the fuck's with that? And it's so cheap, it doesn't even tell you where the 7 bonus tracks are from. And it turns out the 7 bonus tracks are 7/10 of the second album. So you've got 7 out of the 10 tracks from Change of Heart on here, including Love on Sight. If that thing just got stuck in your brain and you kind of scratch that itch, well, maybe you do want this version. But it's a real cheap CD pressing, not a single liner note or anything to it. There's bound to be a better reissue out there you could pick up than this one. I just got this one a long time ago. It was cheap, wanted it on CD as well, and it does have some bonus tracks, but that's about all you can say about it. So that wraps up our first entry for the evening. SARACEN, If you like your new wave of British heavy metal, a little bit more on the laid back side, some progressive touches, you like those longer epic songs that can move through different parts, check out Heroes, Saints, and Fools. It's actually a pretty cool album. All right, now let's crank things up a little bit, get more into a sort of, bona fide, classic sounding new wave of British heavy metal entry. And for that tonight, we're going to talk about this band, TYTAN. This is their one and only album, which was called Rough Justice. It came out relatively late, 1985, but there's a story to that. The deal with TYTAN is that the band was formed out of the ashes of Angel Witch, when the sort of original, or at least the classic Angel Witch lineup fell apart in the later part of 1981. Bassist Kevin Riddles quickly recruited some new guys and started this venture called TYTAN. Now, it didn't sound exactly like Angel Witch whatsoever. There's hints of that at times, but they were actually operating in a little bit cleaner style, but not like a commercial leaning style. Think more like very early Diamond Head getting infused into the music a bit. And it ended up working quite well. The secret weapon that Riddles recruited was the vocalist, Cal Swan. Great voice, really good at this kind of material. And so they started operating in this very solid new wave of British heavy metal style. A little bit maybe like Iron Maiden or Tokyo Blade, early Def Leppard. Some folks I've seen review it as like a combination of Diamond Head meets Angel Witch. I'm not completely sure I buy into that particular analogy, but there are traces of both bands in there. Regardless, what you have is a very talented lineup that could write some very good, solid new wave of British heavy metal tunes. And they rolled out their first piece of vinyl, which was a 12-inch EP, which I used to have and brilliantly got rid of because we all make mistakes in life. But yeah, it's just a 12-inch, 3-track EP, plain black cover, and titled Blind Men and Fools, which was kind of their big signature song. And so let's check out a clip of that now. So now this is going to be the version from the 1982 EP, Blind Men and Fools. So there you go. Strong showing from TYTAN on their signature track, Blind Men and Fools. Guess I've got kind of a foolish video tonight with Heroes, Saints, and Fools paired up with Blind Men and Fools. Now you see what I've done there. Got a galaxy brain this shit when you're making these videos, guys. But anyway, the EP was extremely well received. The band started getting offers from labels. They did a pretty good job, apparently, with their promotion and hype machine, getting people, really fired up to hear what this band was going to sound like when given the chance to record a full-length album. They ended up being picked up by the Camouflage label. It was the same label that I think Tank was originally on. And that's about where things started to go all pear-shaped. If you read through the countless tales of new wave of British heavy metal bands that never quite made it over the hump, and there were hundreds of them, you start to see patterns. There are some very common things that derailed bands. One, lineup instability. And TYTAN did have members start to phase out after the EP and other members phase in. So there were some issues there. Second problem you often hear is label problems. And it was right around this point in time where Camouflage was having financial issues. Some of their bands managed to salvage something out of the situation. Titan did not. And so after having had all this hype built up around the band, having a good initial reaction to the EP, and then members are coming and going, and all of a sudden the label's not there anymore, and the band just kind of crashed and burned. And it was a real shame. They had recorded a full-length album worth of material, but it didn't get released. Victim of the sort of liquidation of the Camouflage label. And so it was just shelved. The band split up, went their separate ways, and Titan became one of the great what if moments of the whole new wave of British heavy metal era, right there in the 1982, 1983 realm, where some people will tell you that the classic period was already over by that point, and you're heading into 1984. We've already heard what SARACEN was doing in 1984. There was good new wave of British heavy metal being made as late as 84, but a lot of folks will point out that it seemed like a lot of the fire and enthusiasm for the movement had kind of come and gone by then. So where did this thing come from? Well, in 1985, Metal Masters ended up, they were kind of getting the rights to some of the new wave of British heavy metal stuff from labels that had sort of come and gone, things that had never got an official issue, things that had, but this label was interested in reissuing them. And the Titan LP was one of the items that Metal Masters got the rights to and ended up putting out as a posthumous release. So again, this came out a couple of years after the band were no longer a thing. This was one of the better things Metal Masters released. It got even in 85, it got pretty good reviews, reportedly had a very positive reaction, good sales, but it was way, way too late to try to get the band back together at that stage, which is a real shame. It shows the band still operating, in that real classy, strong style you heard on Blind Men and Fools. In fact, let's check out one of the LP tracks. This will be part of the song called The Watcher from Titan's Rough Justice album, 1985.
Feel the silent eyes of truth on our ever-spinning wheel. He can see right through your thoughts to the part of you that's real. Can you feel the watcher's eyes on you? No place to run if your time is due. Save your tears from the light of day. The silent one will pray on your dreams and fantasies, desecrating all your schemes. Only he can sense our slide to eternal purgatory. Can you feel the watcher's eyes on you?
Yeah, really good, strong, powerful stuff. Again, Cal Swan's really good singer. It's a shame that he didn't get a chance to do more stuff with the band when they were right there on the cusp of breaking through and maybe establishing a long-term career, the likes of a Tokyo Blade or Iron Maiden or something like that. But yeah, better late than never. The album at least did get an issue. It's been repressed over the years, so you can track it down if you want to. I noticed while getting ready for this video, Titan, Kevin Riddles did get the band back together and put out an album in 2017. I had no idea this had happened until about 30 minutes ago. So let's go over here, make sure I can get the title right for folks, because I have obviously never heard this. But the 2017 album, I believe it was a High Roller issue. No surprise there. It's called Justice Served, exclamation point. So they serve justice. Blam. Yeah, High Roller 2017. Haven't heard a note of it. Something I did notice though, while looking it up, Kevin Riddles is in the band. It does not have Cal Swan on vocals. Probably not a big surprise. This is, more than 30 years after the band broke up. But yeah, that right in the way makes me a little leery of wanting to go check out a Titan album from the past 5 or so years that doesn't have much of the original lineup about it and is missing, that signature piece of an excellent vocalist they had back in the day. But hey, maybe I'm wrong and it's an absolute classic. Maybe I should get around to checking it out sometime. We'll see. All right, that is going to wrap it up for this one. So now let's talk metal in the comments down below. Anybody heard that TYTAN album? If so, please leave a comment. Let me know what it sounds like. Is it worth checking out? Or is it just one of those, it's okay, band got an album out. Good for them. I have no problem with it. But is it mediocre, average? Is it really, really strong? Those reunion projects can go in very different directions. So let me know what it's like. Has anyone heard any of the SARACEN albums from the early 2000s? What style were they operating in? Did they stay in that sort of big pomp arena rock style? Did they try to go back to the early days of Heroes, Saints, and Fools? Did they just make some more standard hard rock or heavy metal albums? I haven't checked those out either. I'd love some information on them. If they're good and folks can point me in the right direction, I'll add them to the list that never ends. And one day I'll get around to checking some of those out. Okay, hope you've enjoyed this double shot of cool new wave of British heavy metal LPs. Until next time, everybody, please take care. And as always, keep banging your foolish head.